Hello and welcome everybody to the Invisible India podcast. Today I am thrilled to have Jesal Parikh with me from the Yoga is Dead podcast. She is half of the duo of the Yoga is Dead podcast. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jesal.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jessica. I'm excited.
For anyone that has not heard of the Yoga is Dead podcast, it's a very provocative show, and you're very provocative about the way that your thought leadership comes through and the way you also practice leadership with you and Tejal, your co-host. You guys are both practitioners as well as teachers, and I just really appreciate you both, and I am thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Yeah, provocative is the word for sure. I think that you can use to describe us.
Yes, I love it. So just to get an idea of the show, these are some of the titles just to kind of give people an idea of what you're all about. White women killed yoga. Karma capitalism killed yoga. Gurus killed yoga. Vinyasa killed yoga. My personal favorite, vegans killed yoga. 200 hours killed yoga. If you watch or if you listen to those, you'll get the basics of what Jesal and Tejal are really all about and what they're trying to communicate with the show. But it's really not basic at all, what they're talking about. The episodes are incredibly well-researched deep dives that really, I think, are revolutionizing the way that our modern Western society has kind of digested yoga. And you guys are doing a fantastic job of kind of reframing things. So if you've ever done an asana, if you've ever been to a yoga class, if you've ever drank a chai tea latte, whatever that is, from Starbucks, listen to the show.
Thank you. Yes, we agree. I agree.
So, Jesal, can you give us a little intro about yourself as an individual, how you started practicing yoga, and where you live, and a little just about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Jesal Parikh. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm living currently on unceded Lenni Lenape territory, colonized in the U.S. as northern New Jersey. And my background with yoga honestly started when I was very, very young. I think, it depends on your definition of yoga, to be honest. But if you're including like bhakti and all of those other elements, I would say like I was exposed to that at like just in my household. Parents were doing bhajans like every weekend with their friends. So that sort of stuff was kind of in the air that we breathed. And then I would say like the asana and pranayam and meditation aspect of it, I was introduced to at a camp when I was young. So my parents sent me to like a Hindu camp, and they had like a yogi guru come and teach all the kids, and which was like a very interesting experience because trying to teach meditation like early morning to young children, it's like, what? I don't like, as a kid, I had no idea what he was talking about, but I did remember certain like breathing techniques, like that he was trying to teach us like diaphragmatic breathing by putting one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly. And we see that a lot today. So I was exposed to all these things when I was young, but I would say that I didn't really become, again, I was interested in philosophy always. Like I remember reading Siddhartha as a kid. And so like all these, I kind of consider myself like a jnana yogi because to me, the philosophy is like super interesting. But I would say like, when did I start practicing regularly, AKA going to studios and doing asanas? And that was more after college. So I just like moved to New York City at the time. And then, I was looking for a way to improve my health, both mental and physical. And, a friend of mine took me to a yoga class and I really liked it. I there were aspects of it that bothered me even at the time, but I found that the benefits outweighed whatever weird experiences I was having. So I went and I did the teacher training program, which was like a month stay at the ashram. And it was the Swami Vivekananda Anusamsthana Samdhana in Bangalore. So Esvyasa,
Okay.
it was the school. And so I stayed there for a month at their ashram and I did their teacher training program. So that's sort of how, my trajectory started on the path of becoming a teacher.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, so it was kind of incarnated in your family from a young age. Love to hear you give kind of a definition, and I know your whole show is basically about this: is defining what's the difference between ideal or original ancient uh, yoga and that has been killed from what you suggesting in the show, and what it's become now, this kind of globalized, I don't want to say bastardized, but this totally different thing. And so, I don't know, can you kind of give a definition or some kind of demarcation between those two things?
Yeah, I think so. Because actually, I think that when we seek to define yoga, we think
Mm-hmm.
of like the word definition as narrowing, but
Mm-hmm.
actually, what we want to do is broaden the
Mm-hmm.
scope of what yoga is, right? Because in the West, it has actually become, and because of the West now globally, right? Like this neo-colonialism
Mm-hmm.
effect, it has now become a very narrow thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has become essentially physical fitness, more or less,
Mm-hmm.
right? With maybe a little bit of like new age spirituality thrown in, but essentially it's become physical fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're saying is actually yoga is this much broader, bigger thing with many paths and many lineages. And it is a spiritual practice that has a lot of different facets to it. And so there's a lot of benefits to that are being left on the table and that we as people who are practicing yoga don't actually get access to because of this narrowness that it has become. It has molded in a sense to fit the, we are all in a capitalist world now. It is molded to fit this new paradigm of capitalism. And because of that, needing to fit into something, all of these beautiful dimensions get, thrown out or left by the wayside or underutilized. And yeah, we just seek to broaden it. What does it actually mean to be a yoga practitioner? Well, it can mean a lot of things, and it can mean not ever doing it single asana.
Mm-hmm. So why would you say the show is called Yoga is Dead? Do you really think it's
Yes.
actually dead, or is it just being digested slowly by something else?
It's obviously a tongue-in-cheek name, so I
Sure.
think some people take it a little bit too literally, and they say, I've heard, this is one argument I've heard, yoga's more alive than ever, more people than ever are doing yoga, which is interesting because in a sense, that's true, right? When no one's debating that more people than ever are doing yoga. However, the yoga that people are doing is more and more diluted, right? Like how many people really know much about the history and philosophy of the practice or the context from the countries of which this practice comes from, or really understand like there are different schools of yoga, right? Or even different like beliefs within yoga. So I think if you were to ask like the average teacher, just as something simple as like dualism versus non-dualism, did you know that you could be a yogi and believe two very different things? So I think when we say yoga is dead, we're saying like all the nuance, all the context, all the history, all of the things that make yoga unique and special have been stripped away from the practice. And so what we seek to do is to explore why and how that's happened.